Rand Paul declaring victory over the NSA. But he's got his critics even on his own side of the aisle. Let's bring in a former director of the CIA, James Woolsey. On our air yesterday, sir, we had a respected military historian and military man say that Rand Paul's a scoundrel and that he doesn't have any support in his own party. What do you say about this NSA fight?
Well, I think there's been a lot of confusion because people have talked as if the NSA is sitting out there reading everybody's email, and that's nonsense. What they're doing is with emails, the same thing that has been done for over 3/4 of a century with regular first-class letters. The government can, and this is supported by Supreme Court decisions all the way back, the government can look at the outside of the envelope and tell who wrote the letter, who is getting the letter, and when it was postmarked. That's it. Yep. Not get inside the letter. That's what they're doing with emails, and a lot of people talk about this as if they were sitting out there reading the content of your emails. That's a lie.
Okay. I'm sorry to interrupt you, sir, but we've had a lot of discussion about this on this program. My position is that in the age of potential nuclear terrorism, within our own borders, and that is a distinct possibility in the future. Maybe we need some new rules, a new interpretation of the Constitution, so that we can actually take care of this threat. And you say what?
Well, at the very least, I think one does not want to make the problem harder for the domestic law enforcement agencies or overseas for the CIA, NSA. By the way one operates. And these steps that Senator Paul and others have taken are effectively end the bulk surveillance or surveillance of outside of the envelopes for emails, and that's a big loss. There was press this morning that at least one of the telephone companies that they were looking to say, well, okay, you're going to store the data, right? And then we can look at it in 6 months or whatever. That phone company said, no, there's nothing in the law that requires us to store anything. We're not going to store anything.
So it has to be the government, the NSA, which stores everything. Otherwise, it just gets deleted and we lose access to it. That's your point. Yeah. Okay.
Exactly.
Just let me bring this to your attention. It's coming into us now from the Associated Press. The FBI confirms wide-scale use of surveillance flights over U.S. cities. These planes were carrying video and cell phone surveillance technology. Your thoughts on this, James? I know we're springing it upon you, but your immediate thoughts, reaction?
I don't know what their authorities look like for that. The law enforcement matter, and I was not in law enforcement. I was in intelligence overseas. So I think that somebody like a Justice Department counsel who's familiar with this issue has to let us know whether they needed some type of filing with a court or whether they could do this on their own, and whether there was any federal court surveillance of this, such as the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act court. I don't know. But if they were behaving legally, then hopefully they're succeeding. And if they were behaving illegally, somebody should make them stop.
You ran the CIA. You ran operations overseas, intelligence outside our borders.
I oversaw them.
You oversaw, okay. Well, I guess that's the same thing. I'm not quite sure, but you oversaw the CIA.
I don't want to sound as if I was the case officer. I was not.
Okay. Are we weaker today in terms of intelligence overseas than we were when you were overseeing the CIA?
Well, some things were improved after 9/11 by making it possible for us to work closely with overseas intelligence services, and there were some steps in a reform direction that made it easier. But this act in the Senate over the course of the last 2 or 3 days basically completely undercuts the key parts of the Patriot Act. I think that it's a bad mistake.
What do you think is the major threat from overseas? I know that our viewers think it is the Iranians getting a nuke. What say you?
I agree with that, but it's also the North Koreans, even as of today, because either any country, as long as it has a nuclear weapon and a ballistic missile that could put that weapon into orbit, and that would include today, for example, North Korea, is in a position where they can launch into orbit a nuclear weapon, detonate it in orbit above, say, the United States, and do huge damage, even shut down, if they do it right, our electric grid. And we got 18 critical infrastructures in the country: food, water, transportation, et cetera. All 17 of the others depend on electricity. So if the electric grid goes down, it's not just the lights that go out, it's everything else.
I hate to leave it on such a threatening note, but I'm afraid we have to. James Woolsey, former CIA overseer, if I can put it like that. Thank you very much for joining us, James. We appreciate it.
Thank you.